Okay, now that I've got you set up, hello. Now, first thing we're going to do is get some water on your hands, nice clean water on your nice clean hands. This will help stop the mixture from sticking to you. What we're doing is we're making balls, and I'm cupping it in the palm of my hand like so, and then we're putting each ball on the tray. Now I'm making these arancini a little bit smaller than an apple, maybe about the size of a mandarin, and we just go ahead and do that. Now as you get into it, you notice more and more that it starts to stick to your hands. So that's why you've got your clean bowl of water, so you can wash your hands and start from scratch. And then you'll find no more stick. Now, not only can you make yourself the balls like that for lunch or for a picnic, but you can also make them very small and cute and dainty, so that they become bite-sized balls. And bite-sized balls are really good for a cocktail party. You can put them on the platter and people just pick them up with their fingers and eat a nice cheesy Italian rice ball. Once again, get stuck, use the water. Okay, here I am again. Now, I've finished rolling my balls and just wanted to show you that I've put them in the fridge so they can get nice and cold. And I'm going to leave them there like that for, well, it's better if you do it overnight, but for the purposes of this filming, I'm going to leave them in there for maybe an hour or two, and I'll come back. In the meantime, I'll get set up for the next. Okay, the next bit is quite simple. It's setting up a crumbing station. And here we go. If you happen to be celiac, which means that you have a tolerance, you're not tolerant to wheat, rye or barley, then you can't use plain flour or breadcrumbs unless they are gluten-free breadcrumbs. Maybe you can use corn flour or rice flour instead of plain flour. So you'll have to adapt this recipe if that's the case for you or your guests. But for us that can eat gluten, we start off with some plain flour. I've just got a couple of cups of plain flour in there, and I've got 3 eggs in there as well into another dish, and I'm putting some milk. I like to use skim milk because wherever I can lose fat, I do. That's about half a litre of milk in there, and that's probably just about the right amount. Now in here I have a packet of breadcrumbs, which is 500 grams. I like to put a little extra Parmesan cheese in the breadcrumbs, so I'll put another couple of tablespoons in there just to give it a bit more pep. And if I can find them, I have some sesame seeds. It's a 70-gram pack, so this should be interesting, trying to do this while holding the camera. Okay, God, I'm clever. Right, and try not to do that and get them everywhere, and put the sesame seeds in there in the crumbs. Now the thing is, you have to mix this up very well, and when you mix it up you won't be able to see the parmesan or the seeds very well, and the crumbs, they all blend. But when it cooks, all the seeds will stay white and all the crumbs will go brown, and even more brown with the parmesan, and you'll get a lovely speckled effect. So there we go, I've mixed that around, and now I'm ready for the next bit. Let's see how cold they are in the fridge. Now, they seem pretty firm to me. Okay, now I'm going to try and do this one-handed. Normally when you crumb things you keep one hand, usually my left hand, for the flour and the milk and egg, and that's my wet hand, and my right hand becomes my dry hand. So that way when you go through the process you don't end up with your fingers getting all crumbed and getting lumps in your crumbs as well. So I'm going to try and do one-handed, so that I can see if I can do it. Now you pick them up very gently because they are quite fragile, and now this is completely cold now. I should have left it a little bit longer if I wanted to get firmer. And You lightly roll it in the flour so it's well coated. Go like that to knock off the extra. Don't worry if you lose a grain of rice along the way. Then dip it in the milk and the egg, which is called egg wash. And make sure you've got no dry patches, and drain it again. All the time being very careful not to break up your balls. And pop it in there. Now I'm going to put the camera down. And with my dry hand, I then roll it around in the crumbs, and voila, we have one crumb ball. Flour with my left hand, egg wash, oh, that one's breaking up a little bit, into the crumbs, and very lightly roll it in the crumbs. Keeping that one dry, go back to my wet hand and crumb my arancini ball, and then in the egg wash, okay, and crumbs. Bugger. Now, if you get one like this that falls apart, like I just did, you're going to have to do a bit of remodeling on the spot. So I've got it back together, and I'll just re-dip it in the milk, back in the crumbs. Oh, and I've got my wet, this is what happens when you get your wet hand in the crumbs. Make a mess of things. Anyway, not to worry. If that happens, go wash your hands and dry your hands and start again. And at the end, you can see what's left of my flour is just yucky crumbs and bits of rice. That gets thrown away, and that's all the liquid I had left from the eggs. That can get thrown away, but I've got lots and lots of crumbs left over. Now, pick all the bits out that you can. Your crumbs, especially if you're crumbing with chicken, you don't want any bits to be left in there. And the ideal thing is to do as much crumbs as you need. Now I'm going to be crumbing something else today, so that's why I did the double lot of crumbs. You may wish to halve the amount of crumbs, and I'll put that on the screen as I have done with the rest. Now, I've got rid of all those bits. Now, to store these crumbs, because they've got cheese in them, you have to store them either in the fridge or the freezer until the next time you want to use them, and they'll keep just fine. So, my Parmesan sesame crumbs are there, and I'm going to leave that there, so I'm going to do some more crumbing. Now, these have to go in the fridge so they can get nice and hard, and if they get moist at all, you can always repress them in the crumbs like so. And when I say press, I mean go like this, but don't squash them. Make them into nice balls. Now also another thing that you can do is you can squash them, flatten them a bit, and you have like a little rissole shaped. Or you can roll them a bit and make them croquette shaped, like so. But I like my balls round. So I won't cover that too much more because I'm going to break it. Alright. Normally I would, if I was in a commercial kitchen, deep fry these balls for the sake of convenience, and I wouldn't really care much about the health of the customer because, you know, that's what happens behind the scenes. But because I'm now in my home and I do care about the health of the customer, then I would like to make it as least fattening as possible. So I won't be deep frying, I won't even be pan frying these arancini balls. Now what I've done is I've got them at the fridge and I've put them on some trays, and I've poked a hole in the top of my oil, which is canola oil, but you can use vegetable oil or whatever, and I'm just drizzling a little bit of oil so that each one gets a sprinkle on top. Trying not to overdo it with the oil, of course. So I've gone to the trouble of getting low fat cheese and light cheddar, so I might as well go with the whole hog. Alright, so there, that's enough. They're all done. I've preheated my oven to hot. I've got it on about 500 Fahrenheit or 250 degrees for those in Australia, and I've put the tray in the oven